Welcome to The Sound of Teaching, an Education Through Music Los Angeles podcast series in which we explore insights from music educators on teaching strategies, career paths in K-12 music education, and wellness tips for teachers. Join us as we delve into a heartfelt chat. I'm your host, Chloe House. Today we're here with music teacher Dr. Albert L. Magcalas. Dr. Magcalas is a highly respected violist and music teacher currently working as an Education Through Music Los Angeles music teacher and Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles viola teaching artist in Los Angeles, California. He brings a wealth of experience to the table with degrees in viola performance from the University of the Philippines, Western Illinois University, and Florida State University, where he earned his doctorate under the guidance of Dr. Pamela Ryan. He's performed with top orchestras around the world, including the ABS-CBN Philharmonic, the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, and the Tallahassee Symphony, just to name a few. He was also a member of Florida State's prestigious resident graduate string ensemble, the Bergen String Quartet, and has played in festivals across Southeast Asia and the US. In addition to his performance career, Dr. Magcalas has a strong background in teaching, with experience ranging from high school orchestras in Iowa to leading masterclasses alongside of the world's top musicians. It's an honor to have him here to talk about his journey, the role of music education today, and what it means to nurture young talent in the world of classical music. All right. Well, hi, Albert. Thank you so
Hello.
much for joining me. Thank you for being willing to be a guest on our ETM-LA podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's
Yeah.
a great honor and privilege.
I'm glad. So, to start us off, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey with music? How did you get to where you are today with ETM-LA?
Well, I came from the Philippines. I studied music there at the University of the Philippines College of Music. I finished my bachelor's degree in viola performance, and I pursued a master's degree and a doctoral degree on viola performance here in the United States. I got my master's in Western Illinois University, and I got my doctorate in Florida State University. I finished my doctorate in 2021, and then I moved to LA, found a job here, started to work as a freelance musician, and then I chanced upon Education Through Music LA, saw what ETM-LA is about, and I've read the mission and the vision goals of the organization, and I felt like, oh, it aligns with my mission and vision too as well. Um, and I've always been passionate about teaching and performance as well. And
Mm,
so that's how I got in it ETMLA.
wow. So you've become quite accomplished yourself, but then also it sounds like you want to give that gift back to communities as well, being involved in
Yes,
the schools.
definitely. Before when I was younger, I did not see teaching as an important part of my musical journey. Because for me, when I was young, well, I just wanted to be on the stage. But one thing that I've learned actually is that teaching actually makes you a better performer. And when I
Mm,
started to teach, I slowly but surely saw some improvements in my own playing, in my own artistry that I could have never learned by myself. And it's
wow.
amazing because these kids taught me that. Like teaching these kids actually taught me to become a better performer. I became more critically positive about myself.
Mm,
Because when I noticed that when I was just like trying to improve by myself, I'm negatively critical of me.
mm,
But then when I started teaching these kids, I saw the joy and the beauty in the process of learning rather than just focusing on the goal.
yeah.
Um, on like for example, if I want to play this piece, that's my goal, and that's all my that's where my focus is. But I fail to enjoy the moments of the process of getting there
Mm,
and teaching music education to children actually taught me that to enjoy that process. Might be painful, You might cry in the middle, and then you might laugh again, and then cry, and then pick yourself up again, and then the next thing you know, you've already reached your goal. So that's one of the
Mm.
things that I am very, very happy about with teaching.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like the teaching process helps you treasure a different facet of being a musician, because there's no way around it. You need to practice, but to make that mental shift to actually value and treasure that, that's huge.
I've always thought that, as performers, you actually teach the audience too. And
Mm,
so it's always interconnected.
yeah.
It's never one way or the other.
And remind me, which grade levels of music do you teach?
I've taught second graders up to eighth graders. Yeah. And I've had experiences teaching high school as well.
Wonderful. So quite a range. Lots of
Yes.
opportunity. Um, and so, about your teaching experience, I know that you've taught both in the general music classroom, but also as an ensemble instructor. So, I wonder, how is participation and learning in an ensemble either similar or different to the general music classroom?
In my own personal experience, whenever I teach general music classes, it's more focused on a single specific topic or a single specific concept. Like, for example, if I'm teaching them rhythm, the whole group is learning a rhythm.
Right.
But when I teach ensemble, the whole group is learning a rhythm, but at the same time, there are pockets of sections that experience the rhythm differently,
Mm,
just because of the nature of ensembles being made up of different instruments that go together and play together. Like, for example, if I'm teaching a general music class and I'm teaching them to sing, or I'm teaching them recorder, or I'm teaching them ukulele. A ukulele class is a ukulele class. A recorder class is a recorder class. A choir class is a choir class. In ensemble music, like when I'm teaching orchestra, you have the violins, you have the second violins, you have the violas, and you have the cellos. Three different instruments, but three different parts, three
mm,
different ways of playing, and three different ways of technique. Even posture is different. I think that is the striking difference that I have learned in teaching two kinds of classes. However, one thing remains constant, and that is both need intense amount of focus and concentration on my part,
mm,
and energy as well. Because whatever energy I have gets picked up by the students. Thinking about it, it's like I need to be like an energizer bunny. Wherein like from the start of the class, my alkaline battery should never go down. To keep them motivated and to keep them asking questions, to keep them curious and to keep them from trying to discover, is this gonna work, mister? Is this gonna work? How about this one, mister? So I think that's the main takeaway that I've learned from my experience.
yeah. It sounds like maybe in the GM classroom there's a unity based on topic, but in the ensemble it's a unity based on like a piece. They might all be learning the same piece of music, but experiencing it in very different ways, like you said.
Yes, in very, very different ways. Just even the feel of the instrument is already
Right.
different. With the thickness of the strings, the width of the fingerboard, and we all have different hands, and all of these students will have different ways on how to put their hand.
Right.
And so that makes it a lot more complicated, nuanced, challenging, and fun.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. And it actually makes me wonder, in your experience, because you have the GM, but you have the ensemble as well. How can an ensemble uniquely impact and benefit a student? Because
Oh.
of the words you just mentioned, with the complexity is different, the intensity is different as well.
It develops a child's outer and inner ear.
Okay.
So when you talk about outer ear, it's like this. I'm talking to you right now, and you're listening to me. Your outer ear is engaged. In ensemble music, your inner ear also works.
Mm.
So you're listening, you know your sound, but at the same time, at the same moment, you're hearing other people as well. and it is a very, very important skill to learn. And it's to be honest with this, I started music very, very late. Actually, I started learning to play the viola. My primary instrument is viola, and I'm a primarily a violist. I learned when I was 17 years old. I actually learned in college already.
Mm.
I didn't know how to read notes when I got to college. I learned everything in college. And so my inner ear is stronger, and I did not have any concept of an outer ear. So
Wow.
whenever I play in ensembles, I'd hit the notes when I'm practicing alone. But then when I play with people, I suddenly can't play it because I can't
Mm.
hear them. All I hear is myself. And in ensemble music, that is the skill that everyone learns. That skill is heightened, that skill is developed, that skill is even formed, that skill is discovered and explored. And it's amazing because even it's I love how the idea of the inner ear and the outer ear, because you can also actually apply it in life as well. And this is where when we start to talk about how music can be used to actually influence the other aspects of the life of a student. Because when you know how to listen to yourself and you know how to listen to others, won't that make the world a very special place?
Yes.
Won't that make the world more peaceful?
Mm.
And I think that that is the main value that anyone could actually take away from ensemble classes.
Mm.
It's about being empathetic, sympathetic to others, not just looking at your own, but still be focused on your own too. You want to make your sound good. You have to focus on that because you have to give your best so that it would be worthy enough to join the others as well. Like it's more of like, come on, let's go and play. Let's go and play. Let's go and play instead of like
Mm.
you follow me.
Yeah. That's a beautiful distinction. The let's go and play assumes the camaraderie, the teamwork that's happening. It's not a competition of I'm gonna lead and everybody's gonna follow, but it's let's do this together. Let us go and play.
When it's just words, it sounds cliche, right?
Yeah.
But when you experience that in an ensemble, it's magic. It's something that turns a switch inside your brain. It's like, oh wait, this is how we as human beings should actually live. Like,
Mm.
aim for excellence for ourselves in the service of others so that we might be able to listen to them and have them come in. If everyone thought that way, we won't have wars.
Yeah, I love your eye for the integration of how the human heart is impacted by music, by practical experiences. And you've mentioned that you came into this career and dutifully pursued it, but you came into it under several master teachers, even coming into it as a 17-year-old. So I wanted to ask you, like, how did your teachers inspire and encourage you to pursue music as a career? Maybe there's a memory or a piece of wisdom that comes to mind when you think of your former and or current teachers.
For some reason, I don't know why, but every single teacher that I had treated me like I'm their kid. Like I've had three teachers: Professor Edna Marcil Martinez in the Philippines, Professor of Viola in the University of the Philippines, Professor Dr. Isvan Shabo from Western Illinois University, and Dr. Pamela Ryan in Florida State University. And all of them treated me like their own child for some reason. And I treated them like my parents as well, because me being away from my family and living here in the United States, Dr. Zalbo became my father figure, and then Dr. Ryan became my mother figure. And so the
Mm.
thing that they've always like taught me is to, number one, believe in myself. Because they
Mm.
knew me as a hardworking person already. They did not have to tell me you have to practice. You have to practice. Because I practiced like there's no tomorrow. When
Yeah.
I first started, I would practice 12 hours a day, which is actually not good. It's actually not good. It's really not good. I have a friend who's a musician in Germany, and she was like, it's a miracle you still have your fingers. And I'm like, no, the reason why I play 12 hours because I started in college already and I had to catch up with
Mm,
people. And so I had to, but then I learned how to practice, and then those hours became smaller and smaller and smaller because I knew how to work more efficient. And they always told me to never give up, never ever give up. Second thing that
mm,
they always taught me is, especially Dr. Zabo, is make it happen. Make it happen in life
mm,
and also in music. Um, if you want something, you make it happen, no matter how hard it is. And I've had
mm,
my fair share of bouts and failures and a small amount of it's funny because I have more failures than victories.
mm,
And it's just natural that I have more failures because the more I fall down, the more I stand up.
mm,
And so that led me to those small amount of victories that is heavier than those failures. So that's the thing that they've really taught me. Those two things: you never give up and you make it happen. Well, aside also from the technical things.
Yes, of course, of course. I'm sure there's plenty of knowledge that they bestowed upon you, but I think you make an excellent point that sometimes we can be afraid of failure or afraid of a lot of failures. But if you think about them in terms of weight, it's interesting how you're like, well, yeah, I have lots of failures, but they barely weigh anything because you turned them into very valuable, weighty victories that stick and end up taking much more space in your music career, which
Yeah.
is a very valuable way to look at it. Yeah. So, switching gears a little bit, you've had international, transnational experiences in different music groups, and I wonder how you bring them into the classroom and make your activities or lesson plans culturally responsive. How has your experience as an international violist impacted your approach to teaching in a culturally responsive way?
I think the sensitivity to expectations,
Mm,
you know, taking into consideration the social status of everyone. Like,
mm,
especially in my country, I mean, I grew up in a third world country, and in the Philippines, my family was considered like low middle class, almost to the poverty level. So
mm,
I am very, very sensitive to that and putting the expectations of, and I say this not saying that I'm not expecting much, because you can never underestimate the children, their innate talent and their intelligence. And sometimes even like children from those impoverished areas, sometimes those children are the ones who's really, really talented. And sometimes those children are the ones who immediately have that musicality in them that you don't need to teach. And for me, it's more of that sensitivity to expectations. And by that, in a way, it helps me to be more compassionate towards what the kids can actually accomplish.
mm,
And by giving them that much understanding and space, they're actually able to explore more,
mm,
and they're able to expand more and explore the skills that they never knew they have. And as a
oh,
teacher, for me, one thing that I learned about the international experiences that I've had is that as a teacher, I'm not the source. I'm not the source of everything.
right.
Like as a teacher, my only job is to actually steer them and shepherd them along the way while they explore their own skills. And then of
Mm,
course, if they're veering away, I would just give them a gentle nudge. Hey, this might be a better way. What do you think? I always have my questions in my teaching. I always ask them, do you think this is a better way? Because it stimulates their brain, their minds.
yeah.
And once they discover it on their own, those are the things that actually stick in their brain because it's theirs. They know it wasn't actually forced into their minds.
Yeah, that's a really practical way of structuring a class that has a really positive internal impact. It sounds like you're building up your students' endurance, their curiosity, their resilience by always having kind of these what if questions or these speculation questions of what is the best way? Could you explore this further? Could we find a different way? And giving them the agency to say, oh, I actually do know enough to explore in this area. Or again, building up that resilience of not being afraid of failure, not being afraid of the unknown, and exploring in your classroom.
The thing is, I love that you mentioned the word resilience. I mean, coming from a third world country and a poor family background, that's all I had at that moment
Mm.
when I was growing up. Resilience was the only thing that I had. And so what happened was my skin became so thick. When obstacles come in, I look at it and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. And in a way, I want to impart that to the children. And then the thing is, like, compared to what they have here in the United States, from what I had before, they're so blessed. I'm like, they're really, really blessed. And I'm like, I wish I had this when I was in third grade, in the third grade. Like
Mm.
I'm teaching a class where I'm teaching musicology in kids. And when I was their age, one of the exams that I have was just to record a pop song, and that was it. And that was my music class. Never learned this, do re mi fa. I never learned that. I actually learned that when I arrived here in the United States. Actually, when I
Wow.
arrived in LA, that's where I
Yeah.
learned this.
Wow. That's a really interesting perspective. I'm glad you pointed that out, the passion to teach resilience, but also to teach appreciation of what you do have and what you have exposure to. It almost sounds like, to reference your previous conversation about how your teachers were these constant cheerleaders telling you to make it happen, and then your approach to constantly be introducing questions and encouraging them to develop this resilience. It's kind of this beautiful partnership between being a cheerleader for your students, but also trying to encourage them to explore and build some of that thick skin that is required regardless of what industry you go into. There are thick skin moments that you need when you go out into the world. So it's really interesting to hear how music class can also just be a part of that growing up and that getting ready to be just a person in the world. And that actually flows into my next question. You have mentioned before in your spotlight interview about the transformative power of music. And so I wonder, how have you seen transformation and growth in your students through music class?
Oh, there's a lot. Like I mean, I can go on for hours and highlight individual transformations in children, shy kids starting out in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you see them hacking the viola like there's no tomorrow. It's like doing this and just like making a sound that you never thought that they would be able to do.
Mm.
Or this was a really, really cool moment in recorder class that I taught in Beulah Payne Elementary. I was teaching like 30 kids per class, so 60 kids of recorders. And they love the recorders so much. Like they are so excited hearing hot cross
Mm.
buns. And it was like magical for me. And we know the jokes about the recorder and how it's not an instrument, but it actually is. How it's a toy, but it is not. And these kids, I think it's also because that I show them how passionate I am for the instrument. I'm a violist, but if I wasn't a violist, I would be a recorder player.
Wow.
I fell in love with that instrument because of the pandemic. We can't go out.
Mm.
So I was like, what can I do that's not the viola? And I kind of want to take a rest from the instrument. So I ordered the recorder and I learned the recorder. And then these kids, they're so excited with it. And what I did was I made a competition for them, like who wants to solo? And everyone would be like, me, 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 me. And then what I did was I have those people who are interested to do a solo. And then I turned it to a competition wherein their peers would actually vote who played the best. And so what happened was they got so competitive. And what happened was, of course, there was a winner. But then those people who didn't win, they did not know that they actually improved dramatically from day one because they just competed with each other. And the wonderful thing that happened actually is that no one was hurt. Their feelings weren't hurt if they did not win. They actually cheered on for the one who won. And the
Wow.
result was like a solid group of recorder players who play so well. And I'm like, there was one time there was a sub in the school, and then she came in and she brought the kids. She was sitting outside. I was like, "Please come in, come on in the class." And she was like, "Oh no, those are 30 recorders. I can't possibly hear that." And I said, "I promise you, you will love it. Please come in." And then they started playing hot cross buns. And then the sub looked at me. It's like, "Why do they sound like this?" And I said, I told you you will like their sound." So
Yeah.
for me, that's one of the most transformative moments that I've seen in kids with how music, as I've how music affects them. As I've said, I can go on for hours of this.
Right.
I have a violist who's in Castler, and he was very shy, very timid. And then the end of the year, he was playing amazingly, and I didn't expect this, but his parents actually gave me a letter and they said,
Oh.
"We have seen such a big change in him and his confidence. Thank you so
Mm.
much." And he transferred to another school. But it was like, at that moment, to be honest with you, and I'm not being dramatic about it, when I read the letter, I was there. I was like, I was gonna bawl out. Like, I was really
Oh.
gonna cry. Because at that moment, I was also tired. As teachers, we're really tired. But then when you see those kinds of letters, it's just like, man, I did not know that my 45 or 40 minutes of teaching this kid changed him. And
Mm.
I felt so validated and I felt like, man, I'm changing lives. Like
Yeah.
I was like, yay. Like that's the I was so happy when I saw that letter. And there's a lot more, but I mean
Yeah.
we won't have time to.
Right. I'm sure we could fill hours of video recording with the stories. But you mentioned kind of feeling validated in your experience as a teacher, and it sounds like these stories like these are kind of the why you do it, you know? So
Yeah, because sometimes I feel like, am I doing enough?
mm,
Sometimes I always doubt myself too. It's like, and not everything is easy. Not everything is,
yeah,
cotton candies and ponies. And I'm like, sometimes I think, should I have done more? Could I have done better?
yeah.
To what could
Mm.
I do more to keep them motivated? And those moments are actually the ones that validate me that, oh, okay, you're doing okay.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And in our last question for today, as we're kind of wrapping up, I've appreciated your insight on not only your personal experience and your context, but also how you've seen it interplay into the classroom and those moments of being validated as a teacher. And so I wonder when you think about where you started versus where you are now, what advice would you give to your fellow music educators to encourage them in their journey in this profession?
Live and love music. That's how I see it. Because when you live music and you love music, there will be no bounds to what you can do with it.
Mm,
When you love and live music, you would always want to teach it. You would always want to share it because it's such a beautiful thing inside of you that it gushes out, that you don't
mm,
have any other choice but to share it, either by performing, either by teaching, either by just having this podcast that we're talking about. And
yeah,
I think I think you've noticed how passionate I am about it because
yeah,
the thing is, I remember when I was in high school, I did not know what to do. In the Philippines at that time, the most in-demand job was to become a nurse. I almost became a nurse. But I asked myself, what is that one thing that you can imagine doing for the rest of your life until the day you can't raise your hands anymore? And that was music for me.
mm,
For me, it just encompasses everything. Live and love music. It makes you not give up. it makes you make things happen. And
Mm.
it makes you share everything to everyone in whatever shape or form.
Yeah, that sounds almost like a legacy statement to me in the way that you're thinking of, it's not just sharing knowledge, but through the knowledge, through the teaching, it sounds like you're sharing a passion, but then also sharing the ability to explore, to find something that gives meaning to your life as well. You talked about how it's something that helps you look forward, the not just living music, not just knowing how to play it, but loving it, having something you're passionate about that adds to your life, which from your stories it certainly sounds like you've given to your students. You got passionate about the recorder in front of somebody else, in front of 60 kids who, maybe a handful of them haven't even heard about it before. But because you got passionate in front of them about this instrument, they got passionate about it. They, had friendly, good, healthy competition. They were able to perform beautifully and they got excited. It mattered.
Also because children can smell authenticity and inauthenticity a mile away.
Mm,
So if you show them a certain amount of half-heartedness, they will know that immediately. And sometimes I have to examine myself. That's when I doubt myself sometimes and ask myself, am I giving enough of me to them?
mm,
Because they will know. And they're very smart and they're very instinctive. They are actually in a developmental phase in their life where all of their senses are heightened because they're forming their core values. They're
yeah,
like building the core values that they will use once they turn adults,
yeah,
and that's how they're gonna live their life when they grow up. So for me, it's more of like if you can show them your sincerity, I think
yeah.
you've already done at least half of the job.
Mm. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I'm not a professional violist, but I already feel like I've gained wisdom from our conversation, just your perspective on the practice of being a teacher, but then also the perspective of how teaching in music and how music impacts life. So thank you very much. With that, that's our last question for today. Thank you again for your stories, for your insights, even just sharing your passion about the viola, about the recorder, and teaching. It was lovely to talk with you, Albert, and I'm so excited to share this with the rest of our team and our community.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.